Hey everyone, welcome to Build Weekend Watch. I'm Matthew Jacobs, HuffPost reporter. I'm filling in for Ricky Camilleri this week. Today I am privileged to be alongside HuffPost senior reporter Lee Blickley and Yahoo Entertainment senior writer Ethan Alter. Thank you both for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. We're going to go through a few different releases that are opening this weekend or premiering on television over the next few days. I think the big one that we're starting off with is Klansmen, the new Spike Lee joint produced by Jordan Peele. It's based on a true story. It follows Ron Stallworth, an African-American detective who, along with his partner, infiltrates and exposes the inner workings of the Ku Klux Klan. Take a look.
The KKK is planning an attack.
How do you propose to make this investigation?
We'll establish contact over the phone. We'll need a white officer to play me when they meet face to face.
You for the white race, Ron?
Oh, hell yeah.
So there becomes a combined
Ron Stallworth. Can you do that?
with the right white man. We can do anything.
When's the last time they let a rookie lead an investigation? Oh, that's right. Never.
Okay, become his friend. Let's get invited back.
So what kind of stuff you guys do?
Cross burnings, marches. This is fixing to be a big year for us.
You ask too many questions. You undercover or something?
All right, Klansmen. I love this movie. I think this is kind of the weekend's big release. It's our first Spike Lee fiction feature since Chirac in 2015, another movie that I love, but it's very different. Chirac kind of had this scrappy, it almost felt like they kind of showed up every day and just figured out what to do. And this is a much more kind of traditional Spike Lee joint, a little more sophisticated, a lot of homage to kind of old Hollywood and sort of a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. And I really liked it. Ethan, you saw it also, right? What were your thoughts?
I did, yeah. No, I think it's almost certainly headed for a place on my top 10 list for 2018. It's I've liked a lot of Spike Lee stuff, recent stuff, Chirac, Red Hook Summer, but I think this is, like you were saying, his most commercial movie in a long time, but without sacrificing all the stuff that people go to him for, the provocative political commentary, the really thoughtful exploration of media, and African-American history. It's all there. I mean, he's the only director who could really take a time out to have Harry Belafonte basically deliver a monologue midway through the movie, and it's fascinating and gripping. It's really terrific.
When I saw the movie a few weeks ago at 10 a.m. on, I think, a Thursday morning, Ricky Camilleri was there with me, actually. When Harry Belafonte shows up, about 3/4 into the movie in a really pivotal scene, he has a long monologue where he recounts a lynching incident that's juxtaposed with the chapter of the Ku Klux Klan watching the movie The Birth of a Nation, which, of course, was a big piece of propaganda inevitable propaganda for the Ku Klux Klan back in the, in 1915 or thereabout. And it's the most kind of unexpectedly searing and moving juxtaposition of comedy and drama. You have this heavy monologue from this civil rights legend juxtaposed with this hilarious footage of these Ku Klux Klan idiots like hooping and hollering at the screen and throwing popcorn because they're so excited by what they're seeing in The Birth of a Nation. And it really just kind of makes you sit back in your seat and, without needing to preach or do anything super heavy-handed, just illustrate a fierce and alarming divide that has long haunted this country, and it's like right there in that juxtaposition, and only Spike Lee can do something like that.
Do you feel like this movie is putting him back on the map? Because I know Spike Lee has had some things that haven't taken off quite as much as people thought. Do you think this movie definitely will?
I think so. I mean, it's getting a wide release this weekend, which not all of his movies have. Some of them have had slow rollouts and not done monstrous business in recent years. And he also hasn't had a lot of love from the Oscars, which I think there's a good chance that that'll change this year, too. I think Klansman is, after Black Panther, our second significant Best Picture contender of the year so far.
Yeah. I would also say, I mean, on top of everything else, like it's really thoughtful and really dramatic. It's also very funny, and that's something that I think might not be seen as much in the trailers, but this is a very funny movie. Adam Driver has a really hilarious part as the partner. There's just a lot of moments that are played for dark comedy, but also just broad comedy, and it's the mix of it is a lot of fun. And I'd love to know how much Jordan Peele was involved in that too, like if he had any input in the script, because there are moments that feel influenced by him. But yeah, no, it's just such a great combination of genres and feelings and moods, and I think that makes it really special for Spike.
It also plays with this idea that I love that Sorry to Bother You, which is my favorite movie of the year so far, explores, which is the notion, it's a kind of a concept of code switching in the form of adopting what might be called the white voice. So in Sorry to Bother You, Lakeith Stanfield plays a telemarketer whose colleague advises him that if he wants to make sales over the phone, he needs to speak like a white person. And similar here, Ron Stallworth, the main character in this movie, this is a true story based on his memoir that he wrote a few years ago, in order to kind of pose as somebody intending to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan. Obviously, a black person cannot successfully do that. So he calls them up and speaks as if he has white vernacular. And I think those two movies play with this idea in a way that is so, first of all, hilarious. I mean, in Sorry to Bother You, there's David Cross is dubbed over Lakeith Stanfield when he's using the white voice. Here, John Washington, who plays the lead in the movie, sort of does it himself, and it makes you laugh and then question why you're laughing at it, and that's just it's the most profound dynamic.
Yeah.
And John Washington, you mentioned, is Denzel's son,
right.
and he's had a big year. He had 2 Sundance movies as well. So I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for this movie to come out. I can't wait to see it.
I was just so happy that he got, because Denzel Washington obviously worked with Spike Lee and always got that famous Spike Lee signature shot. When David Washington gets his own moment at the end, it's great. You're just
That's right, when they're like floating to the window. Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Setting him up. They're setting him up.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, next up, we will talk about The Meg, the summer's requisite shark movie, of course.
Sharks!
Movie critics are calling this Jurassic Park and Jaws on steroids. It follows Jason Statham and his crew as they take on the task of hunting down the biggest shark known to man, the prehistoric megalodon. Check out the trailer.
That thing's out there. We need to find it and kill it.
Why don't you just put a tracker on it? Did you guys ever watch Shark Week?
He looks heroic, but he's kind of got a negative attitude.
Oh, I'm depressed to say that I haven't seen this movie. Lee and Ethan, take it away, please.
Oh, The Meg. I mean, that trailer makes it seem much more fun.
Exactly. I wanted to see that movie. That's the movie.
Like the music, I'm like, I wish that's the movie I wanted to see.
Exactly.
Now, we were saying earlier that the first 30 minutes or so, I was just like, come on, I need some more. Usually these shark movies kick off with an amazing opening scene that really hooks you in.
Like Jaws does. It's the Jaws tradition.
Exactly.
You start with the shark at the beginning and then pull away from it. Yeah.
So I was waiting for that, but instead they kind of take their time. They want you to get to know the characters a little bit, and it's just like that's not why I came to this movie. I'm here for like blood and guts and like sharks, megalodons. Right. I mean, but I don't know how you felt about it too, the beginning.
No, I mean, what I was there for is I wanted to see Jason Statham punch a shark. That's all I wanted from this movie. If that had happened, it would have been A+ top 10 material as well. That does not happen. This is not a good movie. They had a chance to do it, and they don't. The lack of shark punching on Statham's part is a big issue.
Yeah, it's not like, we've had The Shallows in 2016, and then we had 47 Meters Down last year. Like, we've had some pretty decent shark movies. They're not Jaws level, nowhere near it. But so I was expecting this one to just be fun and play with exactly what we were expecting it to be. and it didn't quite get there, but there are some great things with Jason Statham, you know, just jumping in the water with a spear gun, attacking this giant 75-foot shark as only he can. But yeah, no punching. No shark
I mean,
punches.
come on. The crank guys would have had him punch a shark. Like, that's...
So is it that the movie isn't big enough? Does it need more? You know, I'm interested. You brought up The Shallows, which was sort of a shark movie that surprised us all in what it was. It was really kind of this sort of B movie, almost a little exploitative, and kind of this really enchanting kind of way, and very unconventionally shot for one of these movies. And I think that surprise element is what kind of gave that movie a little extra boost. So what does this one need more? Does it need more, I mean, action? Is it as simple as that?
I think it sort of needs to decide what it wants to be, because it's made as a big budget shark movie, but then it also tries to do the low budget thrills, and so it needs to decide whether it's fish or fowl or shark, whatever you want to call it. But it sort of needs to pick its lane. I think The Shallows knew it was a B movie, pitched itself very much in that vein. Deep Blue Sea was a goofy extravaganza, CG extravaganza, and went that vein. This one tries to do both, and I think it can't succeed at that. You have to really pick a tone and commit to it.
Should have done the Deep Blue Sea route, which is closest to. There are great one-liners and great moments where the whole audience is laughing exactly where they should be. But then there are these serious undertones that you're just like, this is not what I came here for. I don't necessarily need a love story within a shark movie. You get that. Rainn Wilson is fun. The acting is not so great, but that's what makes the movie a little bit better, because it shouldn't be great. I mean, there's moments where you're like, oh, I could see where this could have really succeeded.
Right.
But no. Yeah. But we also have Jason Statham, who will battle it out with Tom Cruise and Dwayne Johnson in the box office, as they all have these action thrillers.
Oh, right, our action.
So I'm curious to watch that movie.
Our action lads,
exactly.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see what happens with the box office this weekend and whether the Meg can top it. Or, I mean, I know Black Klansman isn't getting quite as wide of a release, but I'd love to see that one kind of squeak out and win the weekend.
Well, I know animal people always need to know there is a dog in jeopardy in this movie, but I'll spoil this. Just the dog lives, so it's okay. The dog lives.
The dog's name is Pippin, though, like in Jaws.
Right,
so
there
there's some callbacks, yeah.
All right, well, next up we have Slenderman. Today, the lore of Slenderman is hitting the big screen. In this horror flick, the lanky figure terrorizes 3 teenage girls who are trying to solve the mystery of their missing best friend. Roll the trailer.
Check this out. Here is the last site she visited. Slenderman. He preys on innocent youth. What was that?
I think this is how we get Katie back.
Those who hear the 3 bells toll accept his invitation. When you hear the first, you must close your eyes.
Katie!
Opening your eyes only once you've heard the third.
Well, let me just say, I was very excited for Slenderman.
Were you, though? Were you really?
I think the Slenderman story is fascinating. Maybe not so much the creature itself, which has its own sort of mythology and legacy, but, you know, the real-life incident that's been, you know, kind of chronicled in the media and in a documentary last year called Beware the Slender Man that aired on HBO about, you know, these 2 teen girls who were so obsessed with this Slender Man character who's this kind of online and kind of alt media kind of, you know, horror figure, and committed some heinous deeds in light of their obsession with this character. And this is not that story. This is its own sort of, again, kind of B-movie, cheesy, you know, blockbustery sort of horror treatment of it. And I will say, I haven't seen it, and here's why. So
Actually, yeah, none of us have for the same reason. The same reason.
So studios are very strategic about the way they screen movies for press and the way they slot their embargoes and plot their press cycles in order to drive money to their movies. And I realized, having been excited for this movie for a few months now, on Wednesday when I woke up and said, Slenderman is opening this week, and I still haven't seen it, and I haven't gotten any screening information for it. I wonder what's up with that, AKA, it means this movie is terrible, or else they would have asked me to come see it. They would have begged me to come see it. So I emailed the studio Wednesday afternoons, and they respond and say, I emailed them at about 2:45 or thereabout, and say, hey, can I see Slenderman before it opens? And they say, yeah, we have a screening at 3 o'clock, and the email was sent to me at 3:01. Are you anywhere near the screening room right now? I was like, well, I'm not that near it, so I guess I won't be seeing Slenderman. So this is a long-winded way of saying they knew not to screen this movie for press, and Ethan has heard some feedback on it at least.
And it was pretty much negative. Yeah, I think that there's a reason why they kept this from people. Yeah, it sounds like one of those. It was a great idea when the Slenderman was sort of a popular lore thing, but the movie took a while to be made, took a while to come out, and at this point it feels sort of old hat. And yeah, it's just not. We're on to the next thing. We're on to clowns.
Unfortunate, because there has been so many great horror movies of late. So I was really excited for this, but then, yeah, when we didn't get that screening info, I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't be excited about this. And Joey King's in this, too. She was in another horror movie last year, Wish Upon.
Right, exactly.
Which I feel like this kind of will be like that.
Yeah.
You guys have seen Wish Upon.
I mean, the horror audience is very devoted and will see anything that comes out in their genre. I would say the horror audience, and maybe second only to the superhero audience, are kind of the most faithful genre devotees. So, I mean, it could make a somewhat fair amount of money in light of the absent reviews, right, and the few terrible ones that'll roll in over the course of the weekend from people who caught screenings of it last night outside of the press cycle. So, all right, that ends our discussion of Slenderman.
Yeah, exactly. See it if you dare, basically.
Here's one I have seen, Skate Kitchen. Writer-director Crystal Mazel was so fascinated by these girls in the skating scene in New York that she chose to make a movie out of it. Skate Kitchen is this coming-of-age story of an introverted teenager played by newcomer Rochelle Vinberg, who joins an all-girl skateboarding crew and kind of discovers herself in the process of that. Let's take a look at it.
¿Dónde carajo has estado? No more skating, promise me.
You know you can stay at my house if you need.
Yeah, I was seeing you at the park the other day. You were killing it.
Skate or die, bitch.
No, I don't.
I love this movie. If you've seen American Honey and Kids, it has sort of it's kind of a spiritual cousin of those movies, kind of a tribe of non-professional actors who are doing this. Actually, it feels very unscripted. I spoke with Crystal Mazel a couple weeks ago. It's highly scripted, and you almost wouldn't know it from the movie. It's so naturalistic and so evocative of kind of these girls' actual lives, kind of built around their real personas, and it's just utterly lovely. What did you guys think?
I mean, Jaden Smith's in this, which was an
Smith
added
does
bonus.
show up.
Yeah, but I totally agree. It's like this coming-of-age story told in this, indie sort of setting. Very like beautiful to watch, beautiful story. It has something to the Madeline's Madeline that we're going to talk about next. Those two movies to me this week have just really stuck out. Black Klansman, I know that you guys said too. But movies like this really get to me, and this is when you realize, oh, this is why I'm into film. Something different than, say, Slenderman.
Right. I think the thing that I appreciate most about it is it sort of captures that moment in a teenage life when you find your tribe, basically. Like when you've been on the outside looking in, you finally find the group of people that you feel a part of, and that happens with everyone at a certain point. I remember it was like me finding high school theater and like getting into that in a big way, and just that immediate sense of community and then the drama that can sometimes erupt from that as well. Doesn't mean that it's always easy, but I love the natural way it sort of captures that, her finding her place in the world.
Yeah, and it's an interesting companion piece to 8th Grade, a movie that opened and is in kind of wide release just now, the Bo Burnham movie, which sort of portrays social media as sort of almost a necessary evil in the adolescent development of our and everyone's lives at this point. And this one sort of goes in a different route. Camille, the main character in the movie, connects with the skateboarding tribe called Skate Kitchen because she finds them on Instagram and approaches them kind of in real life and strikes up this friendship. And it's sort of nice to see, as much as we all sort of, turn in fear at some of what's happening on social media, to see the connectivity and to see it told in a sort of kind of lovelier, kind of sun-dappled sort of sense of discovery out of kind of this. It really does kind of make it feel like a less gritty kind of kids for the Instagram era is what I kind of keep saying about it.
Yeah. It put me in mind a little bit of Lady Bird as well. Like that story of one girl's coming of age with the non-professional actors here, unlike there, but still the relationship with the mother and daughter, and again, finding her place in the world. I thought that it had a lot of that elements too. So if you love Lady Bird, Skate Kitchen for sure is a good one to see.
Absolutely. We're in a really, really good moment for movies about teen girls, which brings us straight into our next title, which is Madeline's Madeline. We're starring another newcomer here in Helena Howard, and film critics are raving about Madeline's Madeline. I've seen the word masterpiece thrown around a lot about this movie, which follows Howard's character named Madeline as she starts to struggle to kind of distinguish her real life from the role that she plays in this theatrical organization run by this overzealous director. We don't have a trailer for this one, so we'll launch straight into it, but Madeline's Madeline and Skate Kitchen would make a great double feature in terms of young girls kind of discovering themselves through forces outside of their home lives. They both have mothers who are worried about them and are trying to kind of clinch down on certain protective measures that may or may not be in their best interest, kind of for you to decide. But this is more kind of in the vein of sort of a psychological thriller, if you will. Madeline has sort of an alluded to history of kind of maybe some mental illness and kind of is able to sort of form this new identity when she's in the midst of this theater troupe. What did you guys make of Madeline's Madeline?
It's one of those movies that makes you so uncomfortable, yet you can't turn away. It's just visually beautiful, and Helena Howard was stunning in this. It's one of the best teen performances I've seen in a really long time, and the fact that it's her first film just gives me chills. I can see her really succeeding. But yeah, it's just a different kind of movie. Again, somebody who really loves film will totally appreciate this and everything that it does to kind of test the limits of what we're seeing right now on screen and kind of get back to being more experimental and being a little different and not being afraid to be different. That's how I saw this movie. But yeah, there were points where I had to like turn away, but then I had to keep peeking because there's a beautiful even monologue at the end that Madeline says that I was just gravitated toward. It's a really beautiful film.
Yeah, no, I love how stylized it is, which is really nice. It put me in mind. There's a small movie released a few years ago called The Fits that was also sort of a stylized coming of age story, and that put me in mind of this a lot.
Yes.
And I love the specificity again. I think Molly Parker plays the drama teacher in this, and I sort of felt like I recognized that person, someone who's well-meaning but also takes advantage of people in a way where she's not even realizing she's doing it necessarily, and everyone else can sort of see it, but she can't. And I think that performance is really, I think, it really grounds the movie too, and which could spin off into, sometimes threatens to spin off into too hallucinatory, but you keep coming back, snap back to reality by her. So.
Yeah, hallucinatory is the right word for it. It sort of has kind of a David Lynchian sort of Mulholland Drive kind of feel to it that I just eat up, but definitely an experiment. And Josephine Decker, the director, is known for operating kind of in that sort of very unconventional, experimental kind of way.
Yeah, even the beginning when they're acting as cats.
Right.
And it just gets, you're watching it and you're just like, what am I watching? But you're so gravitated towards it. It's very strange.
Yeah, it plays with sound a lot.
Yeah.
It feels very fractured so that sounds kind of, it's all a little bit like an acid trip, kind of like sounds are coming from kind of here and there and sort of not always aligning with the visuals and gives it this, you really feel almost just hypnotized by it, really.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we'll switch over to TV now for season 4 of the Breaking Bad prequel, Better Call Saul. which premiered this past Monday. In the season, we will witness Jimmy McGill slip further into his crooked Saul Goodman persona, in addition to the changing dynamic in the underworld with Gus Fringe and Hector Salamanca, our old friends from the other series. Let's take a quick look at the trailer.
How'd the job search go?
Pretty good. Got a few leads.
Now, this place, they're not exactly what you call security conscious. And that's where you come in.
If our arrangement is to continue, there's a matter we need to discuss.
Do you really want to do this?
You have Gus Fring's respect. I'd want to keep that if I were you.
The guy's story changes every time he tells it.
Breaking Call Saul. Breaking Call Saul.
That's the mashup version, right?
Better Call Saul has found an audience that, frankly, I when it first premiered, never expected for it to. Ethan, you love the show, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a real fan. I a lot of times I feel I like it more than Breaking Bad. I think it's just a really. I find the style of it really great. With Breaking Bad, I always felt like you could tell when the narrative was switching gears. You could sort of see behind the scenes when they were making up their minds. Better Call Saul feels much more carefully plotted, and I really appreciate that about it. It's a really well done show.
I sort of fell off with the show after season 1 and have only kind of kept up with it peripherally. Tell me where we are on how are we closing in on the Breaking Bad timeline, and where do we see the show going?
Well, the main thing that happened in the season premiere, which premiered on Monday, was that Michael McKean's character is dead now. So Saul, Jimmy's older brother, who was such a confrontational presence in his life, is gone. That leaves a big hole in the show in a lot of ways, and it's a lot of sort of dealing with the fact that he's not there anymore. And what does that mean for these characters? And certainly the idea that he doesn't have his brother as a force both of love and of conflicts seems like it could set Jimmy closer on the path to becoming Saul, because he doesn't have that check on him anymore. And then we're seeing certainly more Gus is taking a more prominent role in this season 2. It's clear that he's going to move more into the prominence in terms of running the drug trade, setting up Breaking Bad as well. So it's still baby steps. They're still not rushing headlong into Breaking Bad territory, but you can certainly see the seeds that are heading there for sure. And again, that's one of the things I've always loved about the show. It's so carefully plotted, and you can tell exactly that you are being primed up for when we get there. It's going to feel absolutely natural, even if people get impatient for it.
So you are anxious to see the timelines sort of eventually collide.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, on the one hand, I'm a little nervous about seeing them have to de-age Bryan Cranston. I mean, Jesse Pinkman, Aaron Paul still looks mostly the same, but Bryan Cranston they might have to do some work on. So I'm a little nervous what that's going to look like. But at the same time, also this story by itself has been so fascinating. I'm not in a hurry to get to the Breaking Bad timeline. I think we'll wind up there. We know what's coming. I'm still enjoying seeing Jimmy's progression into Saul. So they can take as long as they want with that for me, as far as I'm concerned.
Lee, what's your relationship with the show?
I love Breaking Bad, and I watched the first season of Better Call Saul, and like you, I kind of gave up after that. I don't know why, though, because I was into it. I think there's just too much on television. I haven't found the time to go back to it, but I think Bob Odenkirk is just so great in the show.
Right.
And I know that they're not in the Emmys race this year because of the delay. Do you feel that season 4, though, it's still at the level that you expect it to be at?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, if anything, the fact that they took so much time between seasons does mean that, again, they come back and they're not rushing into it. I think the fact that they killed off Michael McKean was such a huge decision. They almost had to take the time, because the fact that it takes time to address the loss of him is important. I think if they had rushed into it, unsure of what that meant for them, it wouldn't have gone as well. But I think they've really carefully thought about what the season is going to look like. So the quality is still there.
But now with Gus having a bigger role, I'm going to have to watch Better Call Saul because I love Gus Fringe.
I do love Gus Fringe.
Right.
All right, Insatiable. This one will be interesting.
It's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's out on Netflix today. It's the dark new, very controversial comedy series, Insatiable. It's after years of being bullied about her weight, the main character, Patty, becomes quite the it girl because she slims down. Using her new looks, Patty decides to get revenge on all those who wronged her over the years. Take a look.
Every day I wondered, how much more of this can I take? Then it hit me. Now what?
Where's Patty?
Right here. Look! Patty's hot! Having my jaw wired shut lost me more than just my summer vacation.
Oh, this is like every great high school movie ever made.
Now, I could be the former fatty who turned into a brain. or an athlete, or a princess.
No, I'd rather have revenge.
You know what? Maybe the most interesting thing to come out of the Insatiable cycle that has been lasted longer than Netflix probably ever predicted it would, is frankly the reaction to the show. More entertaining than the show itself. The reviews, if you guys haven't had a chance to check them out yet, are incredibly heated and incredibly passionate. Linda Holmes at NPR wrote a great one. Aisha Harris and another New York Times writer have a great kind of conversation piece that went up, I think, this morning, in which they kind of hash out the sort of politics of the show and whatnot. This show is doing a lot, and it's tackling a lot of hot button things in addition to the inherent sort of conversation about weight that the show addresses. It has the main character, the first scene of the first episode, is sort of going back in time and when she's overweight, and so the actress is wearing a fat suit. It's very obviously a fat suit. She does not wear it well. And then life sort of picks up for her when she slims down. In conjunction with that, her sort of beauty pageant coach has been falsely accused of sexual assault out of spite. There's a lot going on here. What are your
just
initial
signed
thoughts?
on after 13 Reasons Why. They're like, bring it on. Let's just keep doing these controversial teen shows.
Good point.
I swear.
Yeah.
The trailer, when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, what is this? But then I watched the first episode, and it's like fine.
Right.
I think the look of it is cool. I think the humor mixed with the drama aspect is interesting. But no, I'm not going to continue watching the show. Like, as soon as I saw her in a fat suit, and then she's like, I'm a former fatty. Like, I can't get down with that. That's just not my thing. But
it's funny. I watched the full 12 episodes before the trailer came out. I was able to see them ahead of time, and it was funny watching it removed from the controversy. I was like, oh, this is interesting. It wasn't entirely successful. Some parts worked, some parts didn't. But I had no idea the trailer would cause the kind of outcry it did. And now seeing it, it's obvious why. It doesn't sell the show well at all. And the show has a lot of issues. But there's stuff about it that makes me also partly want to defend it. I think Dallas Roberts, for example, is very good. Like, the cast is very good. They're doing some really difficult work, again, in alternating tones. They're doing broad comedy. They're doing big dramatic moments at times. I think Alyssa Milano is actually quite good, too.
great in it. I love her vibe and her look in this. And I don't know, that aspect of it really got me, too. I was like, oh, I could see how this could be a good show. But the trailer does not present that show that you actually end up watching.
Exactly. I'll also give some credit to Andrew Fleming, who directed. He did one of my favorite movies,
Dick,
which is
yes,
so great.
yeah.
He's got a great tone for comedy, and I think when the first episode, that benefits a lot from that. He knows how to sort of hit those sort of bigger moments, and again, play broad comedy and quieter comedy. But in the back half of the season is where it really sort of falls off a cliff. I think the Netflix bloat really sets in, and the last 5 episodes make no sense at all. It's almost not even the same show at that point. Like, it's not even the same show. In fact, if you wanted to, if you hate the show that you're seeing here, just watch the last 5 episodes, because it's not that show, and you'll be like, I don't know what show this is, but at least it's not that show.
Well, it very much tries to capture this tone that a lot of kind of shows are going for right now. I think of Jane the Virgin springs to mind. This kind of pop art, kind of zippy tone where the plot feels very breakneck, and the jokes come kind of at the sort of standard kind of intervals of if the plot were split up by commercial breaks on network television, and in this way that's sort of meant to like thrust the plot along, and I think it actually ends up being a disservice to the show. And I mean, I'm curious to see how the cycle is going to play out in the weeks to come, given the incredibly visceral and angry responses that people have to this show, which just seems to not really be aware of the time in which it exists. I don't know when it was shot in terms of kind of Time's Up and all that, Me Too and all that sort of stuff, but to have jokes made about a character who's falsely accused of sexual assault, even if there is room to mine that idea for comedy, feels very misguided in the way that it's presented in Insatiable at this particular moment.
Yeah. I think the idea it's trying to play with throughout is sort of the idea of how people are perceived by others, and that's sort of where we're trying to find the comedy from. So in the case of Patty being formerly fat and then losing the weight, but people still seeing her one way, or the person accused of sexual assault, how he's perceived by everyone for that accusation. So there is something there about the sort of madness of crowds and the sort of desire to keep people in their one box that as they've been established. So it seems like that's sort of the comic force, but I agree, it doesn't always work. I can see the idea behind it, but yeah.
All right, last but certainly not least, we have season 3 of Insecure, which premieres this Sunday on HBO. The show, created by and starring the now Emmy-nominated Issa Rae, will pick up with Issa navigating what's next in life after moving on from her beautiful ex, Lawrence. Check it out.
Staying in Daniels is kind of nice. I'm not even sleeping with him. Am I thinking about it right now? No. Yeah. Damn! Is that a pool? I'ma get wet. No better, do better. Throw. I had to put him in his lane. Bloop, bloop. You don't even do it right. I'm gonna tell Daniel I'm gonna stay longer. No. So y'all just gonna Greek chorus me? Yes. How many damn times got to tell y'all I got the truth?
Oh, they had to call my attention. I was watching the trailer on the screen and smiling so big that I almost missed my cue. I love this show. I've seen the first episode of the new season and think it's one of the best that the show has done so far. The comedy beats are, the writing has gotten so tight, the physical humor. These two actresses together are just, the TV pair of our dreams. I'm so excited for this show to get back. What's your relationship with Insecure?
I watched the first 2 seasons. I haven't seen any of the new season yet, but I love the show too. I think it's great, and I love that Issa Rae is nominated nominated this year. That's fantastic. Great for her, and I hope HBO lets her keep making this for as long as she wants. It's a terrific show.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new episodes, but I love the first 2 seasons, and Issa Rae is just like a force to be reckoned with. And I love that each season has just gotten better and better. It hasn't fallen off, and I love that you're saying that they're pushing the limits even more. Just the trailer is so captivating. Like that alone, we were all like, oh my God, I can't wait for this
Janelle Monáe song.
I know. So I'm really excited. So what happens in the first episode to set the season up?
So Lawrence is out of the picture now for, which is a contentious thing, Team Lawrence or not, hopefully he'll kind of at least make some kind of appearance at this point, although I'm under the impression that he's gone for the time being, but we'll see. I've only seen the first episode. I don't know. But both Molly and Issa are sort of kind of figuring their way through their relationships that we saw them leave off with at the end of the previous season, and both of them are basically debating whether they want to stay with their men, so to speak, and kind of what the liberation is and sort of letting them, unhooking that leash. And so there's a lot of the first episode is centered on them kind of figuring out those dynamics with those respective gentlemen. But the best are, of course, when they come together to talk about it and to debrief on it. The best, Issa has taken things at work aren't going too hot for her, and she's taken a side hustle as a Lyft driver and decides that, of course, Molly should accompany her on her pickups, which does Lyft allow that? I don't know, but whatever, it's fine. And they kind of they end up picking up these guys who they think are potential material, and the guys end up getting into this fist fight in the backseat of their car, and just so the physical humor in this show really, I think, exemplifies how confident Issa Rae, who wrote this first episode, has gotten in her writing. And I think if they continue to lean into that season, the show will only continue to get better. And it's been, universally praised since its debut, basically.
Can we watch it now? Let's just stop and watch it now. Put it up there. Yeah.
All right. So, given everything that we've talked about, what are your top 2 picks for the weekend?
Of course, Slenderman. It's tough because I'm going after what people. Well, I loved Skate Kitchen and I loved Madeline's Madeline. I always say Madeline's Madeline, but but if you're a big, you just want to see a cheesy movie, big blockbuster movie, I'd say The Meg. but maybe like sneak some fun stuff in there so that you have a better time.
The movie's not going to provide it. So yeah, bring your own entertainment. I'd probably say Black Klansman for sure. It's a great movie. Again, it's Spike Lee's most commercial in a long time. And then the other I'll throw out, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but A24 released a fun prison movie this year called A Prayer Before Dawn. It comes out this weekend. It's sort of a prison movie crossed with a Muay Thai blood sport fighting thing. So if you like Oz, if you like Muay Thai blood sport things, watch Prayer Before Dawn. I enjoyed that.
Amazing. Yeah, I would second both of those recommendations. Black Klansman, I think, is kind of the cultural thing that we all sort of should engage with at the moment. And then, Skate Kitchen, Madeline's Madeline, if you're lucky enough to live in a city where those movies are playing, they'll expand over the next few weeks or so. But they're just lovely and really invigorating experiences. And I think that's it for Build Weekend Watch. Thank you to Lee and Ethan for coming on today. And thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.